everyone, and welcome to another episode of First Impression Sports Talk. I'm your host, Jasmine Pollock, and today we're going to get into the NBA playoffs and the Panthers taking a commanding 3-0 lead over the Maple Leafs. So let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Jazz's First Impression Sports Talk. Before we get started into certain topics, I want to give special shout-outs from the draft show that I had a couple of weeks ago. And I want to shout out, of course, Akeem Jean-Pierre for being a guest, Jay Racinko, one of our producers here at the Leon Thomas Group, Dr. Cedric Brown, Ramisha Gordon, who is my executive producer here, Jeremiah Nixon, Dalton Kobalarczyk, Cole Brennan, and my dad. So I want to do a special shout out to you guys because you guys make that whole situation possible. So thank you. So let's get into what is the talk of the town, which is the NBA playoffs have taken place right now. We are in the second round, the semifinals, and the next round will be the Western and Eastern Conference Finals. So just to start, I believe Jeremiah is in here, so we're going to get into this conversation about the Los Angeles Lakers taking a 2-1 lead on Saturday over the Golden State Warriors, and tonight is Game 4. So when we look at this Warriors team, we all know that they're defending champions. They've been a dynasty for the past a few years now, and it's been a highly competitive series so far. But it's all the question of how Anthony Davis will come out. Game 1, he had 30 points, 23 rebounds. Dominated that first part of this game. Then the second part of this game, he really the second game he really didn't take off like he should have been, and it was a huge deal. And they end up getting blown out by a lot of points, 27 points, I believe, in that second game in Golden State. Then Game 3 took place in LA on Saturday, and the Lakers again, they came out a little bit slow. Golden State took an 11-point lead, but LeBron and those guys really came in and honed in on their skills. LeBron didn't have any points. He didn't take a shot at all in the first quarter, and he really didn't get it going. D'Lo got it going, giving them 11 points to start their first 11 points. Anthony Davis started off kind of slow, but he started getting aggressive, which we are known that he can get aggressive and get physical. And what he did was cause Golden State to get into foul trouble. Draymond Green was on him most of the game. He forced him to have 5 fouls, including a technical. There was a lot of things going on with the Warriors in this game, but the Lakers shot better from the three. They played tenacious defense, and the Warriors only had 14 threes out of 44. 14. Now, we know this Golden State team is known for their three ball. We know that they can score at the rock at any point in time with, of course, the best shooter of all time in Steph Curry, and then the second greatest shooter in Klay Thompson. So this team can shoot threes at a volume that a lot of teams cannot defend, but the Lakers really sat in there and honed in on their skills. Now, Game 4 is tonight, like I said, in LA, and the Lakers can really take in taking control of this industry and this league, and really show that, hey, we're going to win this game, and we're going to get to the next round and hopefully play whoever wins out of the Denver and the Suns series. But what the Lakers have to do tonight is definitely make sure that Anthony Davis is at the highest potential he can be. Because if he's not at his highest potential, the Warriors will win this game. And they have no answers for Anthony Davis. When we look at Kevon Looney, which is the Golden State Warriors center, he's not as fast for Anthony Davis. He's not a true rim protector. He can get rebounds here and there, some putbacks, but he cannot have the same amount of energy as an Anthony Davis. Draymond Green did a good job in Game 2, but what the Lakers are very good at is going to the rim, really forcing a team to foul them. They're one of the highest teams to go to the free throw line, especially in these playoffs. So the keys for the Lakers to win this game is definitely get Anthony Davis going early, setting the tone early, getting the Warriors in foul trouble early. And then, of course, those perimeter guys like D'Angelo Russell, Rui Hachimura, Dennis Schroeder, all those guys on the wing, Austin Reeves, those guys have to knock down shots in this game when they start double teaming. And of course, we know what LeBron's going to do. I think LeBron is going to be LeBron. He's going to continue to feed his guys around him and give them the utmost chances of being successful in this game. So I do have the Lakers winning this game. I don't know how much because these playoffs have been very unpredictable, but I do have the Lakers taking a 3-1 lead, and I believe they're going to win in this series. So I'm really excited about that for the Lakers. Now let's get into the other Western Conference series, which is the Phoenix Suns going against the number one seeded Denver Nuggets. And last night, the Suns do tie the series. Now, they were down 2-0 to start the series, and Denver looked like they were going to run away with the series, but Devin Booker and Kevin Durant combined for 72 points last night to propel them in this win. So this was a huge, huge must win for the Suns. Even though Chris Paul has been injured, he's dealing with a hamstring injury. He's going to be out for some games. We'll see if he comes back before then. But it's very, very important for Devin Booker and Kevin Durant to continue to play like this because we know Denver is the number one seeded team. The Joker is a two-time MVP. And, of course, they have Jamal Murray. He's healthy again. They have a lot of guys around them, a lot of good role players around them that can give them a lot of good minutes, a lot of good points, and different things like that. But the Suns stuck with what they know, scoring the ball at a high level, and now they are tied in this series. So this series could potentially be a 7-game series in Denver, and I'm predicting that. I think this series is going to go to Game 7, and it's going to be really, really exciting to see because I think it's very competitive right now. But I think for the Suns, my biggest concern for them is their depth. It seems like it's only Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. I don't know if that's going to bode well for them heading deeper into the playoffs if they go to the Western Conference and if they can finish the series because they don't have a bench that could compete with Denver, but they're able to amount some wins with KD and Devin Booker getting those points in there for their team. As for Denver needs to be better on defense. I think you need to start doing a lot of double teams on Devin Booker and on Kevin Durant because there's only two guys that scare you. I mean, we look at other guys, they're good, they're here and there, but the two stars on this team right now for the Suns is Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. If I'm Denver, I would send double teams and really force the other guys to beat you rather than Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. Even though Joker had 51 points last night, he had an exceptional game. They still lost by a couple of points, but I think Denver's going to win this series in 7. And I think that when we look at the Suns are not deep enough for a lot of these teams. They don't have a good bench, and they don't play defense. Their offense is their defense, so it's a lot of things going on. So I do have Denver winning this series, and they play tomorrow in Denver. Now let's go to the Eastern Conference. So we have the Miami Heat with Jeremiah Nixon. He's not here today. He's dealing with some tough technical issues. The Miami Heat is taking a 2-1 series lead over the New York Knicks. And, of course, this series right here is kind of questionable because there's a lot of guys that are injured. There's a lot of no-name guys that are starting to show themselves and starting to propel their teams. But Jimmy Butler is the star of this league. He is the star of this series, and he is competing at a high level. He is really carrying this Miami Heat team to the promised land. I think the Miami Heat can win this series because they have the most experience. Of course, they have Eric Spoelstra as their head coach, and he's been to many championships, many conference championships, many playoff runs. He's in the top 10 as one of the most winningest coaches in NBA history. So they're a well-coached team. Of course, the Knicks are still young. The Knicks are still waiting to turn that corner, but the Knicks are missing a huge star player and a leadership role in order for them to get to the next level. And for the Heat, they have Jimmy Butler, who's been in these playoffs, has made a lot of great shots, competed at the highest level with a lot of different star players like LeBron James, like Kevin Durant, like a Giannis Antetokounmpo, a lot of guys that we talk as top players in this league. But Jimmy Butler is one of those top players. I think the Heat will win this series actually in 5. I do. They're up 2-1. I think they play better defense. I think they're more physical. I think they're well coached, and I do have the Miami Heat again going to the Eastern Conference Finals. Let's go to the other game, which is the final game that is left, which is the Philadelphia 76ers against the Boston Celtics, and that series is also tied 2-2. Very competitive series between both these teams. A lot of bad blood between these teams as well, and you can see this graphic. This is the schedule of these teams playing. But when we look at this series as well, we keep a close eye on this series. When we look at the 76ers, Joel Embiid is the league MVP. He won the MVP for the regular season. And yesterday he was playing with the brace, but they still were able to win in overtime. And there was a lot of questionable calls in this game because in overtime, Jason Tatum shoots a three that puts the Celtics in the lead, but he had a clear push off, and that could have ended the game for the 76ers, where it could have been 3-1 rather than it is 2-2. And there's a lot of questions about the officiating in that game. Of course, that's been the constant trend going on in the NBA is the officiating. So that's a huge problem. But when we look at this series, I think it's going to come down to which team shows up. If James Harden can show up, who's we all know that Jason Tatum is the star of the Boston Celtics, and we know Joel Embiid is the star of the 76ers. But who is going to be that second person to step up for each team? Is it going to be Jaylen Brown or is it going to be James Harden? And James Harden is starting to show again why he was an MVP as well. He had over 40 points yesterday, so he put his team on his back and knocked down shots in overtime in order for them to get that 1-point win over the Boston Celtics. Now this series is going to go 2-2, but I do think that the Boston Celtics will win this series in 7 as well. I think they have more experience. I think they're more together, but I think it's going to go down to the wire because I think both teams are competitive, and I think if James Harden continues to play like this, that we know he can, I think this series can be very, very hard fought, but I give the edge to the Boston Celtics. So that wraps up the NBA playoffs. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Panthers, the Florida Panthers, taking on a 3-0 lead over the Toronto Maple Leafs. When we get back, we're going to talk a little bit about hockey. So we'll see you guys.
I'm Leon Thomas with the Leon Thomas Group. Podcast, virtual events, webinars, streaming shows, and so much more. We want to be your partner in all things virtual.
Welcome back to Jasmine's First Impression Sports Talk. If you'd like to see past episodes of my show, you can go to my website at jasmineonsports.com. And also, please make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is Jasmine's First Impression Sports Talk. You can catch First Impression Sports Talk every Monday at 3:30 p.m. We talk all things sports, have great interviews with athletes and coaches and industry professionals in the sports world. And also check out my Twitter, where I tweet a lot about the ongoing games, about some of the hottest topics of sports, and that's going to be at Jazzy S. So the final topic of the day is the NHL playoffs are also taking place right now, as along with the NBA playoffs. So, of course, my Tampa Bay Lightning are out. They lose in the last round to the Toronto Maple Leafs. So the Toronto Maple Leafs are playing the Florida Panthers, which is the other team that's in Florida, and the Panthers have taken a commanding 3-0 lead over the Maple Leafs. They beat them last night in overtime. And boy, when I tell you, I think this is the year for the Florida Panthers. I think the cup needs to stay in Florida. If it's not the Lightning, let's go Panthers. So I'm rooting for the Panthers to go all the way in these playoffs. And I think this is their year. They've had experience. They battled with us for countless years, going back and forth with the Tampa Bay Lightning. But I think the Panthers, this is their season. This is their year. They're more experienced now. They're competitive. They're the comeback kings. They know what to do. As for the Maple Leafs, let's talk about you guys. So the Maple Leafs beat us in the last series, and that was the first time they won a playoffs in 19 years. And when I tell you, I guess their fans were super excited. They thought they were going to win the cup. They thought they won the cup. You weren't going to win the cup. And then the Panthers come on, and they're up 3-0. And I believe the Panthers will sweep the Maple Leafs and get to the Eastern Conference Finals. And just to piggyback off of that as well, the Florida Panthers have never won a Stanley Cup. Could this be the year? I believe so. I think they can get there and win their first Stanley Cup, and that will be huge for the franchise, especially with the players they have now. They've been playing great defense. They have battled, and they have stayed in games, and they've competed at the highest level. Their last series, they beat the number one Boston Bruins in the first round, and everyone thought the Boston Bruins were going to sweep the Panthers because the Boston Bruins were the number one seed, obviously. They were the fastest team in NHL history to get to 50 wins and get a playoff berth on top of that. So the Boston Bruins had a major, major letdown in the first round. We're thinking this team is going to do a deep playoff run. And when I tell you this Panthers team looks very scary. I'm so happy for them. Happy for Jeremiah because he's a Panthers fan. That's all down south. But I want the Panthers to win. I think they're going to compete against the Kraken because I really like Seattle Kraken coming out of the Western Conference. I think that's going to be competitive. So my prediction for the NHL playoffs is the Florida Panthers facing the Seattle Kraken. And I think both these teams have a chip on their shoulder. I think both these teams are trying to get there and try to make a name for themselves. And it's new teams that we haven't seen a lot. Of course, we've seen my Tampa Bay Lightning. They've competed. They've been to 3 Stanley Cup Finals 3 years in a row, winning 2 out of 3 of those. And we're on a rebuilding stage, but I think the Panthers have a great chance at winning it all. I think they have, like I said, they have the deep team. They're very competitive, and they stay in games, and they know how to come back, and they know how to play as a unit and cause issues for opposing teams. As for my Tampa Bay Lightning, as we move forward into the offseason, I think what we need to do is we need to go start getting some free agents that are younger. I think our team is getting a lot older, and our legs are not the same as it was these past few years. I know us winning the back-to-back cup and then getting to 3 Stanley Cup Finals is a huge, huge success for us, and a lot of teams are not going to be able to do that. That's a rare thing that a Stanley Cup team or a Tampa Bay Lightning team goes 3 straight times. It's very hard to do in the NHL, so I'm very happy. I'm pleased that my Tampa Bay Lightning has competed at the highest level and made the playoffs again this year, being the 3rd seed. But right now, I just think that they need to go into this offseason really trying to get young players, get some veterans, keep our core players together, like, of course, Captain Steven Stamkos, and keeping those guys together. Braden Point, make sure we get healthy, make sure we get faster on the ice and different things like that, because I think we got a lot slower. That also goes down a lot of wear and tear and having deep playoff runs and different things like that. So I'm hoping that my Tampa Bay Lightning can go back. I think we are a playoff team. We're going to be a playoff team because I think we have a great coach, a great organization that puts players around us and gives the Tampa Bay Lightning fans something to root for. You know what I mean? So I think that the Tampa Bay Lightning need to go in this offseason. I think they're going to draft really well. I think they have drafted well. I think they're going to keep their veteran core, but start getting some young players in the free agency and getting some guys that can move up and down the ice and play some good defense and minimize injuries. I think that was the biggest thing, is minimizing injuries and different things like that. So definitely looking forward to next season. My Tampa Bay Lightning are going to be back, but I'm rooting for the Panthers to win it all in the National Hockey League. That wraps up First Impression Sports Talk. Thank you guys for joining. Thank you, Ramisha Gordon, for her good work, for her graphics and different things like that. Thank you, everyone, for joining me, and see you guys next week for more.